Hey everybody, welcome to Nerdstalgia. Today we're talking about Thundercats. It's going to be a great episode, but before we jump into that, I need you to hit subscribe, I need you to hit like, I need you to hit the bell, and now let's get into the show. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nerdstalgia. The show where we watch shows and movies from our past and decide whether or not it belongs in our brain. I'm comedian Jay Black, and I'm joined by my co-host, very curious Bill Ridgway. And today's show, speaking of furries, I think in a lot of ways started the furry movement.
You think so?
Oh, I mean, watching Chitara bounce around, I was, you know
Jack cat-like people, just, you know.
I was just like, I get it. Of course, we're talking about 1985's, January of 1985's, Thundercats, Season 1, Episode 1. And Bill, I gotta say, this one is actual science fiction.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, He-Man took place in outer space, but made no sense. It was like an empty planet full of nothing.
Right.
And it was a sci-fi setting with no actual science fiction. And what's interesting about Thundercats, right off the bat, is it has kind of a backstory. It's got a mythology to it, which I was surprised by. Like, it was a pretty good mythological setup.
Even before it starts, I think it might have, and there's a lot of good 80s cartoon intros from that
Yes.
time period, but it might have the best one.
Right.
Everybody gets a little moment to shine.
Yep,
They
yep.
go to the bad guys afterwards and shift to them, and they kind of cover everything. So when you jump in, you're kind of like, you already feel like you know
I get what's
going
going
on before they even give you the backstory
Right.
when you start.
And I like, and even as a kid, I enjoyed where you go, Thundercats, Thundercats, Thundercats. Which is just fun to say. It is. So this is a TV show about a bunch of cat people.
Right.
And it opens with them.
But do you think the Thundercats whole thing is when they're in those cocaine-fueled meetings that like they're just saying Thundercats, and meanwhile one of the hoes come in and someone just casually off screen said, "Hey, get out of here, hoe," or something? They're like, "Wait a second, I think we're on to something here with that."
What I like
and then
about-
they threw it into it, like, because it really doesn't make any other sense.
What I like about our conception of these 80s TV shows, in our mind, it's all Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
isn't it?
There's nothing but prostitutes and cocaine as far
Please,
as
someone comment on that if they have any insight of that. It's got to be, please.
Yeah,
I want it to be.
I imagine all the executives from the cartoon companies of the 80s are dead of heart attacks right now. But if there's any of you that are still alive, please, we want to know what it was like. Because again, Jim was talking about this earlier. This is part of our cocaine series,
Yes.
where you could just see somebody blow a rail and then come up and go, "All right, cat people." You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, "Oh, run with that. Let's make it happen. Cat people, that's great." A part of this TV show is why I think we started the show with this, a lot of young furries probably found their way.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong about this, they're all naked.
Yeah, and well, they're like genderless almost a little bit, right?
Well, there's Chitara is a girl. She's got cat
Right,
boobs.
and they talk and all that stuff too, but
cat boobs, no cat nipples.
Right, and no cat nether regions either.
Yeah, no cat vagina.
Right. I didn't think we get to cat vagina this early.
Right.
But it's right. I mean,
Can
they're all nude initially, right?
And I'm pretty sure Chitara is naked, except with boots. So she's
No, her and I believe Panther have belts.
Wait, do they have a belt?
I'm pretty sure they have belts.
Let's go to the clip, see if they have belts.
At least two of them have belts.
Right.
And that's about it. When they go in to see the Sword of Omens, Jaga gives them clothes.
Oh, okay. Jaga's like, "You're gonna have to wear clothes."
Here's your leotard, and there's your leotard, right? Or
So this show opens with a bunch of naked cats on a spaceship,
correct.
and they're fleeing their home planet of Thundera,
Correct.
and apparently this is a constitutional monarchy because they have the young Prince Lion-O.
So the planet blows up, right?
Right, but he's asleep.
Right.
While they're fleeing, and it's like, "Go wake up Lion-O."
Which is a great scene too, because you think there's a prepubescent Lion-O, and Chitara comes in
Yeah.
to wake him up. He's like, "Oh, this might be my chance," right?
Again, if you're a furry, like if you're sitting there and you're like writing, I guarantee you right now, I haven't looked at it, but I guarantee you there's close to 1.8 million words of fan fiction written about that Chitara Lion-O scene.
Sure. So the planet blows up, they wake Lion up, he comes out, and he acts like it's the first time he knew the planet was in trouble.
Right.
So when they left, was it like, did this just happen? Was it something was brewing? Did they leave like with like Superman where they put him in the capsule to get rid of him?
Right.
And then when they get attacked, there are ships on the outside that take all the hit. Were there real people in there?
I would assume.
Were they other Thundercats?
So Thundercats apparently opens with genocide.
Right, yes.
Why wake Lion-O up for that? That struck me as totally uncool. Like if we're fleeing Earth in a spaceship and I go, hey buddy.
You should see this.
Wake up. I want you to see the death of your world and the billions of inhabitants.
He took it really well, to be honest.
Sociopathically well. Wait, what was the name of the old... I guess he was a panther person too?
No, Jaga was a jaguar.
Oh, he's a jaguar. Jaga the jaguar. I'm so bad at facial recognition. I was like, is he Panthro's father? Because he looked a little bit like Panthro to me. So Jaga is like, hey, here's the Sword of Omens, which gives you sight beyond sight if you look through the little finger. When you need it, the sword gets bigger.
Right, which is great. You can't pick it up like it's, nothing.
It's, you know what he should do?
Well, the whole Jaga Lion-O relationship is also a little weird at certain points too, but...
No, that's why Jaga wanted to die. When he gave up his life, he was like, you know what, Lion-O, the stuff we've done can never be talked about.
Did you see how that sword got bigger when you picked it up?
Would have been funny if instead of saying Thundercats ho to make it bigger, he just had Chitara blow on it. They can't make it to their original choice of homeworlds. Right. So Jaga is like, hey, there's this other world. It's third out from the sun. And Bill, I have a theory.
Okay.
I think it's Earth.
Yeah, but it's like Earth 3 or something, right? Like it's a fake Earth, right?
Well, it says Earth 3, and I've been thinking about this, because even though mumm-rah does not show up in this episode.
Which was kind of disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like...
I was like, oh, we covered one without...
I'll remind you that He-Man opens with Skeletor, like the villain, front and present. This one, not so much. But like he's an Egyptian, like mummy.
He's a mummy, right?
So I assume there's two genocides. I think this is Earth post-nuclear war. This is a show that has two genocides before the first commercial break.
But that is pretty typical for the 80s.
They get into cryo sleep, and I didn't quite understand this. Jaga is like, they're like, well, what about the navigation computer? That'll get us there. And Jaga's like, no, you can't trust.
And he was a pretty ripped and in shape old man,
yes.
So who knows how long he was going to last?
Right,
really.
And he's like, no, I'll fly it. Again, weird, right? Like here's Jaga, he's gonna die, but he's gonna die like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right, because he shows up later as an image.
And he also dies there, like his clothes fall to the ground, like he disappears,
Yeah, for a long time I thought that's how people actually died. You pass away and then you just disappear and your clothes fall. Did something go wrong in cryosleep, or is it just that you do
something
aging?
had to have happened? Well, some aging had to have happened, as he said that before. But Lion-O went from like 10 to 20.
Right. He was,
and nobody else aged even like a 3 days.
Right. Kit Kat.
So something had to have happened to his. I'm guessing they just didn't acknowledge it, or they just thought kids are just going to gloss over this anyway.
Right.
We need to get Lion-O as old as fast as possible.
So Wily Kit and Wily Cat, do they not age, or did their cryosleep not age them? Like, are they children?
Put Lion-O in the one that doesn't. The old one.
Well, Chitara, when Lion-O shows up, Chitara's like, hey. You look good. You know what I mean? Like the sexual tension that we saw in the episode.
He's a game on.
Yeah, he's now I know mentally he's 10, but physically he's 20, so it's A-okay, guys. He has the sword, right? Snarf gets him the sword and gives him the sword because the mutants have apparently been following them through the whole 200
So did they go to crash? There's all these other questions too, right? But yeah.
But I guess they're mutants, so maybe they don't they don't age the same way.
And there's a great comment by Panther about the mutants earlier where he's like mutants. It's always those damn. Like it sounds like a very racial, like kind of like
really
are all
does.
Mutants like that, or like
you
know what scene I'm talking about? Where he's
I guarantee you, there's a mutant Tumblr page somewhere where they're just like, hey, some of us are people, man.
Like,
it's
come on, man. Like he really just threw us all under the bus right there.
Yeah. Well, in the 80s,
it's always mutants.
In the 80s, you could do that. You know, Lion-O's fighting them with the Sword of Omens.
Well, just hand to hand first.
Right.
Till he gets it.
And then he does sight beyond sight, and it's like, oh wait, I see something. Thundercats in the ship. So they go and they unfreeze the other Thundercats.
But that's one of my favorite parts too. So how he unfreezes them is, he holds the sword up,
Right.
and the classic where the red, thing flies in the sky, and is that the first cat laser pointer of all time? Like, because it wakes all of them up. They're all like, oh.
So they beat up the mutants.
Right.
And what's interesting is the Thundercats house that they live in, not built yet.
Right.
I remember later episodes, like Panthro actually designs and builds the house.
Right.
The main villain, mumm-rah, does not show up yet. It's kind of an interesting first chapter where we're not introduced to all the pieces. We're given the mythology.
They build it up pretty nicely.
They really do. And as we're both science fiction fans, I was interested, like, what's the world of the Thundercats? What's the deal with Earth 3? I'm sure there's literature that
Why
talks
did
about
Thundera blow up?
Right.
I think there was a ton of questions.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a mutant conspiracy, Bill.
Right. Well, if you ask Panthro, if you read Panthro,
Panthro has a blog series right now called Thundera Was an Inside Job. We didn't even talk about Tigra. Whose voice is Tigra? He sounded famous to me. I didn't look it up.
But Lino's Larry Kenney, who did Count Chocula.
Oh, I didn't know this.
He did Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs guy.
Wow.
And he's the dad of Laura Kenney, who did like The State and Reno 911.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's probably the most famous voice that did all that stuff. He's great.
The voices were great.
Yeah.
Really strong voices throughout. And I got to say, of the shows that we watch that are part of the Cocaine collection, this is, I think, the best one.
I think the graphics might be the best one.
Yeah, it's best.
So when they were doing stuff, you could actually follow it.
Yeah.
Like it was, everything was really well done.
It had a great backstory. It had interesting characters. And we know what's coming later on is like the spirits of evil past and mumm-rah and like all of this mythology that kind of builds. And the slow build of the show, like they're going to add stuff as they go along. I was really impressed by this.
Right, like when we watched the first He-Man, he beat Skeletor in the first episode.
Right, it's like
so you're kind of like, all right, like and then you end up repeating the same pattern a little bit.
Right, and there was nothing about He-Man's planet that intrigued you. Like it was like there's 5 people that live on this planet. I'm the prince, and I turn into He-Man. He's already got all the He-Man powers in the first episode. We have I have the power. He takes the sword out. It's basically just an excuse for a toned, ripped bodybuilder to beat up a skeleton person, which the undertones there I don't even want to get into. But this show was great. I was very interested in watching the next episode, and I'd love to hear people comment below on some of our questions, because as much as I like this, I'm not going to do further research.
Right.
So like, what is Earth 3? What's the deal with Thundera? Do we ever get that in later episodes or in ancillary material, stuff like that? So Bill, do you agree with me? Is this worthy of a spot in our brain?
I'm full on board.
This was a great episode, and we urge you to check it out. And that's all we got to say about it. Definitely. My name's Jay Black, and I'm joined as always by
Bill Ridgway.
We have a new episode each and every week, and we'd love for you to join us. Thanks. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but I would think that that's what we just did was one of the top 3 shows ever put on YouTube.
I would have to agree.
And I'm just saying top 3 because I'm being falsely humble.
Right.
It's the greatest thing that's ever been on YouTube.
Clearly.
And I know you agree.
I think we hit a lot of new ground on it.
We really did. I mean, talking about pop culture on YouTube, we did that. We're the first people. Right. So here's what I need you guys to do. If you would please hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell. We're growing the channel, and we know from the numbers you guys really like Nerdstalgia. So we need you to spread the word about this and help us out so that we can keep bringing you content each and every week. So please do all that. And if we get to 1,000 subscribers, Bill will share his deviant art pictures of Panthro and Lion-O.